Opening statements began today in the trial for a former Minneapolis police officer. Derek Chauvin faces 3 charges, including second-degree murder in the death of George Floyd. Video of Floyd's death led to a global protest last year against police brutality. 11 Live Reveal investigator Brendan Keefe has been following the trial closely all day for us. Brendan, the prosecution is arguing that the force was lethal and their main evidence is the viral video. What else can we expect prosecutors to lean on to argue their side of the case?
Well, it's the video, and the video. Those are the 3 most important things to the prosecution. Jerry Blackwell actually spent nearly 10 minutes of his 58-minute opening statement showing that video from beginning to end. That's the video taken by the cell phone that we're all familiar with, but very few of us have seen the whole thing because after George Floyd loses consciousness, we, out of respect for him because he died, have not shown that. Even in Minneapolis, they haven't shown it, but it's critical to the jurors because what we saw today in court was the prosecutor pointing out how many times the bystander said, please check for a pulse. Those witnesses also critical.
The defense argues that Floyd's airflow was not restricted by Chauvin kneeling on his neck. How do they plan to prove that in this trial?
The very first words out of Eric Nelson's mouth were reasonable doubt. That's all he has to get to as a defense attorney to make sure Derek Chauvin is acquitted because he is presumed innocent and they have to prove him innocent, or rather guilty, beyond reasonable doubt. So he is going to rely heavily, and already has, on the concept that it was the fentanyl, the 11 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl in George Floyd's blood that led coincidentally to him dying on the day that an officer had a knee on his neck. That's a big hurdle to overcome, but again, he just has to get to reasonable doubt.
The first witness called today in this trial was a 911 dispatcher. Tell us more about what we learned from her testimony. Pretty powerful.
Yeah, she was really interesting because she did 2 things. One, she also laid foundation for showing a new video. The video was a surveillance camera from across the street that captured the entire incident from beginning to end. She was watching that live in the dispatch center, and in fact, at one point, thought the shot was frozen because nothing had changed for some 9 minutes and 29 seconds while they were on his neck, while they were using their knees to hold him down. It turns out that it wasn't a frozen shot. It was really taking that long. And she took the unusual step of actually calling a sergeant, even worried that they'd think she was a snitch. She had never done that before, called a sergeant to report an officer's behavior.
Yeah, she said something just did not seem right about it. All right, Brendan, thanks for watching it so closely. We'll continue to follow the case through you here.